Matt Slick Debating Techniques, Part 2. We will begin with a large section from CARM, and then we will ask critical questions. Another technique Matt Slick uses is set-up questions. D.A. Carson calls this fallacy question framing. Here's an example from CARM of this technique with critical remarks. Is atheism a worldview? A worldview is a perspective that someone has with which he interprets experience. Atheism is a worldview, or at least part of a worldview, because atheists have presuppositions with which they interpret the world. And atheists' presuppositions necessarily include a conscious decision to exclude God as a possible explanation for experience. So when seeking to answer questions related to our existence, rationality, purpose, morality, etc., atheists must automatically negate God as an explanatory option. This has huge philosophical implications. Therefore, atheism is a worldview, since it has a perspective, or part of a larger one, with which a person interprets experience. Okay, this is continuing from CARM.org. Is atheism a worldview, or does a person's worldview include atheism? And he has in here ways to attack atheism. By asking questions. Atheism is an intellectual position. What reasons do you have for holding that position? Your reasons are based upon logic and or evidence or lack of it. So is there any reason or evidence for you holding your position that you defend? Unquote. Notice, this doesn't offer any reason for believing in God. It simply puts the atheist on the defensive. We return back to CARM. If you say that atheism needs no evidence or reason, then you are holding a position that has no evidence or rational basis. If so, isn't that simply faith? Unquote. Notice once again, nothing is offered for a positive reason for believing. This is a rhetorical device which lacks intellectual integrity. It's a dishonest approach to the discussion. More from CARM. If you say that atheism is supported by a lack of evidence for God, then it is only your opinion that there is no evidence. You cannot know all the evidence for or against God, therefore you cannot say there is no evidence for God. Your atheism then is nothing more than an opinion. But if it is, should you derogatorily argue against Christians and in favor of your own opinion? If you say atheism needs no evidence to support it because it is a position that about the lack of something, then do you have other positions that you hold based upon a lack of evidence, like screaming blue ants? Do you hold the position that they do not exist, or do you lack belief in them too? People behave according to what they believe, not what they lack belief in. So if you are an atheist and you work against the idea that God exists, aren't you behaving in a manner consistent with your beliefs? How about you, Matt Slick? Is the behavior here exhibited a reflection of people behaving according to what they believe? Since you have not positively asserted anything of belief, only avoiding the questioning of your own positions and belief, doesn't this show show your position as a lack of belief? Continuing from CARM, by using logic. Atheists, how do you account for the laws of logic within your atheism? Isn't logic a process of the mind? Yes. Isn't logical thought based upon the laws of logic? If logic is conceptually a process of the mind and certainly appear to be universally true, then what are the conditions that must be in place in order for the laws of logic to be universally true so that you can cite them and use them? How do the truth statements that we call the laws of logic obtain their universal nature? How do you know the laws of logic are true? Do you just assume they are true? Unquote. Whenever Matt Slick uses logic, remember, Matt Slick has no formal training in logic or critical thinking. His pathetic assertions about the nature of logic are once again designed to attack his opponent. By continually attacking his opponent, it relieves him of the possibility positively showing any of his logical assertions, usually referred to as the burden of proof. Notice that Matt Slick sets his questions up in a way that there is no right answer. If the opponent says yes, it is wrong. If it's a no answer, it is also wrong. Yet this is yet another technique for Matt Slick to escape responsibility for his own terms, positions, and consequences of his position. This is a dishonest approach. This approach lacks intellectual integrity.